Hi, I'm Carly,
And I'm Alex.
and this is our 9th grade Clarkston Junior High PBL class World War II projects.
These projects are museum exhibits that we created to present to the New Orleans World War II Museum.
So our project is based on equipment that was used in the war. We have 3 or 4 different types that we have are aircrafts, we have ships, tanks, and we also have weapons, but they're not here to show. And so my part of the project, I did the USS Arizona Memorial, and a fact about that is researchers informed that the USS Arizona survivors are the only ones that ashes were able to get put on board of the boat.
My replica is of a C-47, which was the plane that took paratroopers to Normandy, France on D-Day, and it carried up to 6,000 pounds of cargo, and it was the most widely used aircraft in the war.
Mine are tanks. I have a before and after the First World War. It's the First World War when the British used the first tank called the Little Willie, and then we have one of the newest tanks called a Caterpillar, and they're much more bigger, more durable, and they were used a lot during the war.
Hi, our project is on fighting in the Pacific. Basically, our subtopics were the American role in World War II, equipment, and some of the islands that they fought on. When you to get in, first of all, there's a roller coaster. The roller coaster kind of introduces World War II. Once you get off, there's like little laser guns that you get. You can shoot the targets around the room and it'll bring up information. Carly?
For each information piece we have, there's a different target that you can hit, and pretty much our whole exhibit is just one big game of laser tag. So down in the bottom layer we have 3 different bases. We have the Japanese base, the German base, and the US base. And pretty much you're put on one of the teams and you have to protect your base, and you have to fight everyone else kind of like you're in the war. And each target you hit, you get more pieces of information. And yeah, we just thought it'd be a fun way, just a game kind of, to make everything fun.
Okay, so this is the Battle of Midway, and so this is where American territory was, and this was the Japanese. And so what happened is that American got attacked by the Japanese, but they still won. So yeah.
Alright. Okay, so my part of the project is this. So I did the people research from all the people from the Battle of Midway. Up here you got I wrote 2. Here's the American people from the Battle of Midway, then here are the Japanese people from the Battle of Midway. So over here you got Chester W. Nimitz. He was born February 24th, 1885, and died February 20th. And he was commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet during World War II, so he controlled all the Navy during that Pacific time. And over here you got Yamato Isoroku, or something like that. He was born April 4th in 1884 and died April 18th, 1943. And he's the one who conceived the attack on the Battle of Midway, and he's the one who helped conceive the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. And over here, the second most important people from the Battle of Midway. You got Jack Fletcher, and then you got Nobutu, I don't know how to pronounce that. And here's just a story from one of the soldiers from the Battle of Midway. And even Chester, this guy up here also, he talked about him. He called him a fine man, a sterling character, and a great leader, and said there's nothing you could say about him that would be praised enough for. Admiral William L. Calhoun, I don't have him on here, saw him as a cold-blooded fighting fool, and another historian, Samuel Eliot, Morrison believed that he was one of the greatest fighting and thinking admirals in American naval history, so he's pretty important. And up here I just have the summary of him, and then just biography and just a story throughout the whole entire war, basically. And that's about it.
Okay, our topic is the U.S. home front.
My subtopic is the radio. I showed basically how the radio was used for communication and how it spread messages to the people.
My portion of the project is on the children during the war and like how it affected them. So this is like, for example, this is like what they took with them when they were evacuated, and like that's just.
My subtopic was women's rights and women's home life, and mainly during the war, a lot of women volunteered for military services such as nursing, but also a lot of them stayed in the general area, and also they helped build planes, and also they worked on railroads.
My subtopic was necessities like food, gas, and clothing, and for each thing they had ration books that they used to pay with, and inside each box there's like made ration books.
Okay, so our project was an overview of what happened in World War II in the Pacific. Our subtopics are Pearl Harbor, the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the bombing of the Philippines.
And there will be a projection or projector that will show this map on the floor.
And so basically when the viewer were to walk over the projection, information would pop up when they step next to or like around the area that the thing happened.
So pretty much it's just an interactive map.
And our subtopics were women, technology, and children.
So for our museum exhibit, we pretended like this was a big computer screen on the wall, and it would be interactive where you could touch it. And if you touched like a picture, it would blow up and show you more information. And if you touched a video, it would pull up the video and you could watch the video.
So starting off with technology, we had how many companies had to change. Instead of making their cars and toys usually, they would have to make tanks, planes, trucks, and jeeps. Jeeps were the main travel of the war because they were really good at like climbing the terrain, and because they had their really nice suspension. Children were really mass affected by this because their parents were always like at work, and they would never know if their fathers would come home from them. Their moms would work long shifts at the factory, and they would always have to wait with like their relatives, or they would have to wait at school for their mothers to pick them up. Women played a really, really big part in this because they would have to go build everything for the war. And they would have to build many guns, and they would have to build the planes, tanks, and trucks, and they would have to go into the factories and build them. Thank you.
Okay, so this is our project. It's on the Battle of Leyte, and it's called Battle of Leyte, Their Story, because it's about the people. And so basically, you on the inside there's like those buttons, and then there's people. And so our idea is these are screens, and then the buttons make the people talk. So like if you hit home life, they would talk about their home life, and then if you hit war life, they would talk about their war life.
Alright, so we researched 3 main people, which was Tomoyuki Yamashita, Douglas MacArthur, and then Charles Nimitz.
So, like right there in the corner, like you lay down, and if you were to lay down, there would be a movie projecting on top. Yeah.
So we did the concentration camps of Poland, and we each did our own camp. I did Chelmno, and then Gianna did Auschwitz, and then Ingrid did Belzec, and we each did 2 facts on each concentration camp. And yeah.
Okay, I'm Gianna. I did Auschwitz. One fact that I learned that was really important was that over 1.3 million people went to Auschwitz and about 1.1 million people died. Also, mainly it was 1,095,000 Jews that were sent to Auschwitz and 960,000 of them died.
I am Ingrid. I did Belzec. One of important facts that I found was they killed at least 600,000 Jews, and it held more than 11,000 at a time, and hundreds died not just from working, they also died from diseases and just a bunch of hard labor and stuff like that. And some of them died from living conditions, and because they had to test out the gas chambers to see if they worked, so a bunch of them were just test subjects for the gas chambers. And up here, for the camp, they had doubled fence wire of chicken barbed wire and barbed wire just on the outer fence, and the outer fence was camouflaged to match trees. So that's my facts.
So our topic is fighting in Europe. Our main idea was this would be on the floor and people would walk around, and once they finally step on a location of our battle, it'll project up onto the walls and show all this info. So a little bit about each one. So mine was the Battle of the Bulge. This was Germany against USA, Belgium, and France, and this took place in the Belgian forest of Ardennes, and USA, Belgium, and France won this one.
So my topic was the Winter War, and this was from 1939 to 1940, and it was over a border that Germany had property over, and they were going to attack it, so the Soviet Union was fighting and won to get the battle for better protection of the lands.
And I'm Emily, and my topic is invasion of France and Low Countries, and the German came up with a strategy that was quick and fast and took over Paris.
This is our project. Our topic is United States role in World War II. So my topic was the women of the war, and these are the different women that had major roles in the war and played different parts. And these are photos of the women that did that.
So right here is about equipment and ships and stuff they used in the war that were really important. Also right here is about Pearl Harbor, and it's about how the war started and stuff. And the highlighted stuff is important facts. And then on the back side, I can flip it over. We colored and drew these ourselves, and there's just equipment and planes, and that's the map of Hawaii from Pearl Harbor.
Hi, I'm Allison. This is our project. So our project is a bird's eye view of our experiences in Europe, and it's our museum exhibit. In this corner here is a movie room where it's documentary about leaders. This is a display case of weapons that they used during battles, a display case of what they would wear, such as military or big leaders. And this is a display case of belongings of what they had in Holocaust camps. And it's a scale model of a Holocaust camp and a scale model of a battle that happened.
So I did leaders in Europe. So basically I just focused on Hitler. So these are like the facts about Hitler, like when he was born, like when he was thinking, what he was thinking, and like how he died, and like how he killed himself.
I did artifacts, or not artifacts, but like weapons, and these are the artifacts that I made, and it was just the weapons that they used in World War II, and that's it, basically.
Ours was experiences, and like experiences all around the world, and mine was about experiences about individual people in Europe and where they fought. And James Newell was really well liked for his motorcycles and his like vast knowledge on mechanics. And William James, he was served in 2 different units at a time, and he also was like frontline kind of person.
So I did Homefront, and I did the Japanese Americans, and that camp right there, that's supposed to Manzar, and there's around 11,000 Japanese Americans that are working there. And then I also did women working at war, and the women had like jobs as nurses and repairing like airplanes.
So I did the Berlin Olympics, and this is kind of just like the people that were in the Berlin Olympics and the scarf that was used like as a souvenir, and they lasted only 15 days, and they were used for propaganda purposes.
Our World War II project was German invasions, and we made a puzzle-like project. So when you stick the piece of the shape of the country on, it has all the information, and we focused on Russia, Czechoslovakia, and Poland.
The other countries are ones that weren't as infected as the other ones during World War II.
So basically the timeline down here is how we would portray in an actual museum, and you'd have like a keyboard and a mouse, and you'd click on an event on the timeline, and it would show where it was invaded by, and like arrows pointing where, and then information would pop up on the screen showing you things and like giving you information about it.